The golden light of a Saturday morning spilled across the quiet suburban street in Atlanta, where birds chirped softly and the air carried the scent of fresh-cut grass. Mike and Jennifer Rogers stood at the edge of their new driveway, watching as movers unloaded boxes from the yellow truck parked outside their dream home. A charming two-story with a white picket fence, ivy climbing the porch columns, and a wide backyard where their children could finally run free. Emma, 8 years old, with wild curls and boundless energy, spun in circles on the lawn, laughing as her little brother Noah chased bubbles she blew from a tiny wand. It was everything they'd worked for. Years of saving, late nights, cramped apartments, and endless compromises. Now, finally, they were here. This wasn't just a house. It was freedom. It was peace. It was the American dream come true. But that peace didn't last long. Just as Jennifer opened a box labeled kitchen, humming to herself while arranging mugs in the cupboard, a woman stormed up the driveway like a storm front. She wore a crisp blue blazer, her hair pulled back so tightly it seemed to stretch her skin. In one hand, a clipboard, in the other, fury. Without greeting or hesitation, she pointed at Mike and said, "You have no right to be here." Her voice was sharp, loud enough to stop the kids mid-play. "This property falls under Greenwood Estates Association jurisdiction. You are in violation of community standards and must vacate within 90 days unless you comply with all regulations." Mike blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" "I said you're not supposed to be here," she repeated, louder now. "And if you don't leave voluntarily, we'll make sure you're forced out." Before he could respond, she snatched the copy of his deed from the table near the door, tore it into pieces, and scattered them like confetti across the lawn. Neighbors peeked through curtains. A few stepped onto their porches, watching silently. Some even nodded in agreement, as if this woman had just defended the neighborhood from an intruder. The joy of the morning evaporated. Emma grabbed her mother's leg, eyes wide. Noah buried his face in his dad's side. Mike felt something cold settle in his chest, confusion, anger, disbelief. He had done everything by the book. His lawyer confirmed it. This house was not part of the HOA, but standing there, with torn papers fluttering around him and a woman glaring like he was the criminal. He began to wonder, had he made a terrible mistake? He didn't back down. That night, after tucking the kids in, Mike called his real estate attorney. The answer came fast. The property was legally outside the HOA's boundaries. The association had no authority here. But Linda Whitmore, because that was her name, he learned quickly, refused to accept it. She sent letters, left voicemails, showed up unannounced, demanding photos of renovations, questioning paint colors, claiming code violations that didn't exist. When Mike ignored her, she filed a complaint with the county, based on falsified maps, he later discovered. Tensions rose. One afternoon, a police cruiser pulled up after a neighbor reported a disturbance. Officers approached calmly, listening to both sides. They confirmed there was no legal basis for eviction, no warrant, no court order, but the damage was done. The stress weighed on Jennifer. She stopped smiling as much. The kids became quieter, afraid to play outside. Mike felt like a trespasser in his own home. Watched, judged, unwelcome, so he decided to fight back, not with anger, but with truth. Late into the nights, he visited the city archives, digging through decades-old land records, zoning documents, and original developer agreements. He cross-referenced GPS data, hired a licensed surveyor, and uncovered something shocking. The HOA had quietly expanded its claimed territory over the years, absorbing properties never meant to be included. Their maps were outdated. Their claims were built on misinterpretations, or worse, deliberate manipulation. And they'd been using fear to keep people silent. When Mike reached out to nearby homeowners, he found others who'd received similar threats. One elderly couple had sold their home under pressure, believing they had no choice. Another family spent thousands on legal fees before backing down. Mike realized he wasn't just fighting for his house, he was fighting for fairness. And slowly, the neighborhood began to wake up. He shared his findings at a local coffee shop, inviting neighbors to see the evidence. At first, only a few came. But when another family down the street got a notice from the HOA about their mailbox height, outrage grew. People started talking. A community meeting was organized. Signs went up. Respect our homes. We paid. We stay. No more fear. News vans arrived. Reporters interviewed Mike and Jennifer, showing footage of the torn deed, the police visit, the children playing in a yard they were told they didn't belong in. The story went viral locally. The city council launched a review into HOA overreach. Public pressure mounted. The once unquestioned power of the HOA president began to crack. Then came the courtroom. Mike stood before the judge with folders full of documents, the original deed, the county's official map, the surveyor's report. The HOA's lawyer argued tradition, community standards, emotional investment, but facts won. The judge ruled clearly. The defendant resides on property not governed by the Greenwood Estates Association. The HOA has no legal authority to enforce rules, issue penalties, or demand relocation. The decision was upheld on appeal. The HOA was ordered to cease all communication with the Rogers family and pay part of their legal costs. As Mike walked out of the courthouse, sunlight warming his face, his children ran to him screaming, "We won! We won!" Jennifer hugged him tightly, tears streaming. For the first time in months, they breathed freely. Time passed. The lawn grew greener. Flowers bloomed where fear once lived. Neighbors who once looked away now waved, stopped by to chat, brought over casseroles. Mike and Jennifer hosted a summer barbecue. Burgers sizzling, music playing, kids running through sprinklers. Even some former HOA supporters came, sheepish but sincere. The house wasn't just a structure anymore. It was a symbol of courage, of truth, of a family who refused to be broken. One evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, Mike stood on the porch, watching his kids chase fireflies. Jennifer joined him, slipping her hand into his. "We did it," she whispered. He smiled, looking at the home they'd fought for. Not because it was perfect, but because it was theirs, and no one, not even a woman with a clipboard and a title, could take that away.